Hi, my name is Elise, and you're listening to Chatterbox Island English Podcast. Welcome back to Chatterbox Island English Podcast. I'm your host, Elise. If you're new to this podcast, hello and welcome. This is an all-English podcast, but we don't talk about grammar rules or vocabulary like other English learning podcasts. Instead, we just talk about some easy and everyday topics. And I usually put all the keywords of each episode down in the description, so feel free to check them out if you want to. And I hope you'll find this show interesting, and be sure to subscribe if you enjoy the content.So, in the last episode, we talked about whether online dating is good or not, and if it is suitable for everyone. If you haven't listened to that episode, you can check it out after this one. And again, if you want to listen to any previous episodes of this podcast, you can click on any platform that you're listening to right now.So for today's episode, it's another internet-related topic. I believe we've done like 2 episodes like this so far. One is about social media in general, and the other is, of course, online dating. And today we're gonna talk about cancel culture on the internet. So you might have already heard this term before, or you are familiar with the concept.But let's just go through some dictionary definitions first. According to Merriam-Webster 韦伯字典, to cancel someone, usually a celebrity or other well-known figure, means to stop giving support to that person. And according to dictionary.com, cancel culture is generally discussed as being performed on social media in the form of group shaming.So that is kind of ambiguous, right? Okay, so what exactly happens if someone gets canceled? At first, to cancel someone is just a term that was used among teenagers back in 2014, meaning I'm done with you, and was often used jokingly. But now that it has become a phenomenon or a culture,The consequences of being cancelled have also changed. People might not support or even boycott things that are related to the public figure, such as shows, movies, or even companies. But usually the ultimate goal to cancel someone is to diminish that person's influence or power.So I guess a famous example would be the recent #MeToo movement. Well, not exactly recent, it was in 2017, which is a social movement against sexual abuse and harassment committed by powerful or prominent men or women. The start of this movement is that a famous Hollywood movie producer, Harvey Weinstein, was called out for abusing his power to take advantage of young or new actresses in Hollywood. So with the power of social media, tens and thousands of people, including hundreds of celebrities, replied with #MeToo stories. Eventually, Harvey Weinstein was fired from his production company. Other actors, actresses, directors, and filmmaking companies have cut ties with him.So it sounds like cancel culture is a good thing, right? Because without it, people like Harvey Weinstein might still have the power or influence over the whole industry. But sometimes public figures get canceled for things that might be controversial but not illegal. So here's another example. In 2019, which is last year, Kevin Hart, a famous stand-up comedian, was dropped out of hosting Oscars after people finding out about his old homophobic tweets on Twitter back in 2010. He apologized for his behavior and said that he has changed and grown as he got older. But the backlash from the public was so severe that in the end, he decided not to host the ceremony, and it became the first Oscar ceremony without a host. So in the case of Harvey Weinstein, there is no doubt that what he did was against the law and should be condemned for. But in the case of Kevin Hart, it's controversial but not illegal. Some people might have accepted his apology while others still thought that the apology was insincere and kept on criticizing him. In the end, he got canceled and moved away from the public spotlight for a while. People started to reflect on the cancel culture and its consequences. Some people argue that cancel culture holds public figures or internet influencers accountable for what they did. Because before the internet and the cancel culture, people with money and power could often get away with what they have done wrong. But critics of cancel culture said that it is equivalent to letting others decide a person's fate because the consequences of being canceled can lead to loss of reputation and income that can be hard to recover from and sometimes even permanently. Also, it's more like silencing and attacking people who have different opinions or voices than communicating or educating others on certain issues like racial justice or awareness for the LGBTQ community. So nowadays, a lot of influencers or famous people from the internet often get canceled for things that they have said or they have done like 10 years ago, which of course is not a justification for what they have done or what they have said. But it brought up the discussion of whether people should be canceled for the mistakes that they have made in the past, like a long time ago, and if it is possible for people to change or improve over the years. I guess my thoughts on cancel culture is that yes, it holds public figures or celebrities accountable for what they did, but at what cost? Oftentimes, people just jump on the hate train to cancel others because it seems like a trend. I think there must be a better way to call out others' controversial behaviors while still maintain a way of communicating instead of just silencing them. And of course, we also have to acknowledge that people are not perfect, even when they are celebrities or public figures. When they make mistakes, what do we do? Do we try to communicate with them? Do we try to educate them on certain issues? Do we give them rooms for improvement? Or we just completely shut them down? I think that is the main issue I have with cancel culture, is that we don't give people rooms for improvement. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. So what about you? What do you think about cancel culture? Do you think it is necessary, or is there a better way to hold other people accountable? I think cancel culture is not really a thing in Taiwan. I mean, we often boycott things or companies, but we don't actually cancel certain public figures. But I still think it's an interesting topic to think about. So feel free to leave your thoughts down in the YouTube comment section or Apple Podcasts review section, or even our Facebook fan page. And that's all for today's Chatterbox Island English podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe to our show on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, KKBox, SoundOn, or Google Podcasts. You can also find our shows on YouTube and go on our website, that's www.eisland.com.tw for more information. I'm your host, Elise, and I'll talk to you soon in the next episode. Bye!